Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Talking Cardboard. Today we are going to be talking cardboard. As always, I'm Brian. To my right is John. On this side is Corey, he's our librarian. And on the far end, it's Kaylor. Today's game is Queendomino. At the heart of this game, it is a tile choosing and laying in order to maximize your points. John, start us off, Liz.
I read my first pro. I can't help it. It says every time I play, I win. Until the last game you play.
Yeah, that's a good pro to have.
I mean, the pro is, it's a good, easy to play game, quick to learn. Doesn't need much explanation. You're just matching tiles like you would in like dominoes. A
very cool layering of risk-reward management I have on here. So you have numbered tiles in numerical order, and that determines how important the disc, or not the disc, how important the tile is. The lower the number, the worse off it is. The higher the number, the better the tile is. And that's actually what determines player order too. So if you're going to go after that worst tile to lay in front of you, you'll get first option at the next row of tiles as they're laid in the next round. So you're kind of balancing your risk reward versus, do I take the worse off tile right away, go into the next round having a better option at some different tiles, and you're kind of weighing between the risk reward on that side of things. So that's my first pro. I really like that about the game.
And that sounds kind of difficult to wrap your head around if you're not playing the game. And Kaylor is our resident noob, who's kind of getting introduced to this whole world. What are some of the pros that you've seen coming into this game as somebody who doesn't have quite the vocabulary of somebody like Corey?
It was really easy to pick up. It was really a fun theme. I like they also have the special red tiles in this where you can get options to buy tiles that help you collect points later on in the game. So it also helps you strategize, what you want to do. Yeah,
definitely. I have that as one of my pros as well. The red market tiles kind of add strategy and flavor to the game. You're not just simply taking tiles and placing them in front of you just like the traditional dominoes, and trying to match the numbers. You're actually looking for those certain red tiles to buy different market tiles, and that'll add kind of another layer to the game where you can look at the row of tiles you can buy and choose from to add some depth and add some different ways to make points and to get victory points throughout the game. So it definitely adds another layer to the game.
Kind of expanding on that, you also don't need to be just concerned with what you're doing. You also can look at these buildings that you have set out to buy from, and you have the dragon that you can use to burn things that your opponents might want to be buying to help make their score higher.
Right.
It's
not all just individual, just looking at your stuff.
And I've noticed early on the game is very dynamic, especially with the red tiles, that there are a lot of ways that you can quickly turn your fortunes into a positive way. But one of the downsides I've noticed is that, at least maybe for me, I can tell pretty quickly when I'm out of the game. That when I don't have a good enough setup to really recover, and that for me personally, that's one of my big cons, is I can tell fairly early on if I don't have a chance to win. John, have you seen the same thing?
Well, I haven't, because I'm not bad at the game. Generally,
I was going to say that's more often and frequent for Brian. But
usually I have a strategy coming into the game. I've switched it up once, and that didn't work out the best. But I mean, if you focus on, I think, managing your zones with the different territories and scoring the most points there, I think you're going to do pretty well. And then just use the red tiles kind of as a little bonus at the end.
Between the turns, when you're waiting for other players' turns to end, they could be taking a little bit too much time on deciding, where to place their tiles. That could create a little bit of downtime to try to maximize their area, or looking beyond to the next tiles for giving themselves enough area to place the next tile. There is some min-max and some, it all kind of comes down to the puzzle of the game too. That is the puzzle of the game. So there is a little bit of downtime. I don't have any cons written down for this game per se. One of the neutrals I had was, I'm kind of iffy on it, was with the dragon. taxing and tile buying all at the same time. You're allowed to do one or all three of those between each tile placement. So that can create some additional downtime too.
And then, like I said, if you're starting to tail off and not score as many points, then you can start to lose interest. Speaking of losing interest, Kaler.
I guess the one con I really have is you only start with X amount of coins, and you need these guys to tax, these little black guys to tax to get the gold. If you've used those guys, you are basically, you can only buy the 0 gold tile for your red tiles. So you can really, if you spend your money early, you can be screwing yourself in late game without being able to buy good tiles.
Right. So there's a little bit of a balancing act with your taxation guys to where, you know, do you tax early on to give yourself a fair option at a few of the tiles out early game, or do you hold off until your kingdom sizes are larger to tax for more, you know, higher dollar to get those better tiles when they pop over?
Well, I got one more comment, kind of a neutral thing. I know some of you guys don't like this, but there's definitely luck involved in this game. And I like a little bit of luck in my games because I think it makes it varied, and, you know, people that may not be as skilled actually have a chance just based off sheer luck.
Other than Brian.
Yeah, other than Brian. So you may get a tile towards the end that just is not going to fit your board, even if you give yourself like a 3 and 4 chance that it will. You might get that double swamp, and all you can use is anything literally that's swamps, and you're just missing out on some points that you otherwise could have had. So
the luck is in the hands of other players too, because if they're before you and they're picking the exact one tile or two tiles you need, you're out of luck too.
That has happened way too many times.
Yeah.
It has.
So let's go on to the ratings that we have, the rating system we have going on to help people figure out, is this a game for them? Is this really worth the time to continue watching this video on it, or watch our run through? The link will be below, as everybody knows. So John, what is your rating on this replayability?
So I think for this game, I've already played it 3 or 4 times, and I could keep playing it. So I think it's really high replayability.
Yeah, do you guys agree?
I gave it a high replayability. Also, I agree that it's really easy to pick up.
For me, I gave it a kind of a mid rating replayability. I think it's kind of the mid to high replayability. I mean, I've played it 20 times now. So, I mean, I guess I'm kind of going against myself a little bit saying that. But I think if you play with the same people over and over again, I know my wife and I have played a lot. I know one of my brothers and I have played the game a lot over and over again. You can kind of gauge different people's strategies unless they're intentionally going for other strategies. So I think that's where the replayability could get a little bit stale. But if you're continuing to play with different people, or, you know, showing it off at different parties with different groups, I think the replayability is still okay. Yeah.
Which is good, and it's ironic that the one of us who's played it the most says it has the least replayability. So one of the things we talk about a lot is the depth or the weight of the game. Not many people are as hardcore into these things as we are. I know I'm always looking for games that my wife would want to play. Mm-hmm. So Kaler, what do you think about the depth or the weight of this game? How hard it is to learn?
I thought it has a low, very easy to pick up, very easy to play. Anybody can pick this up. I could teach this to my 6-year-old and he could play it, even though it's for 8 and older.
Right.
John, is someone who has the mind of a younger kid?
I agree. I figured it out, and I've won, 2 out of 3 I've played, so, even us little dummies over here can figure it out. Sometimes. We still have our time.
Another issue that we run into, or something that can turn people off, is the thematic intensity. So how immersed you need to be in this game to really get the full effect of it. So John, what do you think about the thematic intensity?
I think it's got a pretty, mid-level of thematic intensity. I mean, you have this 5x5 board you're building, but you still get the feel that you're making these little kingdoms based on the different terrain tiles you're putting in here. So I think that's kind of cool. It fits the Queendomino theme. So.
Yeah, and our resident queen, Corey.
I actually went with a low thematic intensity on this. I do agree partially with what John's saying. Although at its core, I can see kind of through all the colors and all the fanciness and all the buildings and everything that's on the surface. And to me, it feels a little more just like you're matching colors or matching certain tiles to different sides. So the thematic intensity is not 100% there, but I don't think that takes away from the game at all.
Yeah, and I would agree. I know you made the comment that you look at the colors. For the most part, I don't look at anything outside of the colors. So I don't even call the different land masses by what type they are. I'm just looking to match and maximize the colors. So I really break this down to the basic elements of it, which makes it easier for me to try to think ahead and implement my strategies. So in my opinion, it's very low intensity thematically, but that's because I try to focus on winning instead of enjoying this one.
Yeah.
Kaylor, what do you think?
I gave it a low also. I agree with everything they just said.
And then next thing we want to talk about is the luck versus skill. Obviously, I think it's, well, I keep trying to figure out the skill in it because it is very dynamic like we've talked about. There's a fair amount of chance in terms of what tiles come up, what other people are thinking to do. I still believe that there could be a much higher level of skill involved, and this is coming from the guy who loses all the time. So, Kaylor, you're on the other end of the spectrum. You're the one who wins most of the time. What do you think?
I wouldn't say most of the time. It's about half the time. John's got the other half. You guys get a couple in it here and there.
Brian and I tie a lot. We tie each other for last. Although I think I won by 2 points because I had to lie a little bit on my point sheet.
That's okay. I gave this a medium. I definitely see a lot of luck, and what tiles are going to be coming out next. So you got to really strategize with what you're going to pull this time, so that you can hopefully get a better tile next time. Sometimes you go, and take the lower one, so you get a higher chance of maybe getting a better one next time.
I kind of went with kind of a middle luck skill. Definitely is a lot of luck to the game. I think the more you dive into the game, and the more you really look at it, and like the whole min maxing that I was talking about earlier, you can really make it what you want it to be. I think if you really analyze it, really pull it apart. I mean, you could get caught up in choosing which tile to burn for an hour just to make sure that your opponent doesn't get to that tile. I think that has a lot of pull to the game too. If you were to really sit there and look at all of your different options, not only your own options, but the options of your opponents as well, and try to hold them back from getting to where they need to be. I think that's where a lot of the skill comes in, or some of the skill comes in, but there is still a moderate level of luck.
John?
It just comes back to what I said before. It's kind of in the middle ground there, You got the luck with the tiles and what's coming up for buildings. Maybe it's not things that are really going to fit what you're trying to build towards for points. So, but you do have the skill of how you're fitting the tiles together and, trying to get those buildings that do help you score more points. And then you also have, the little guys that tax and get you money, and when to use those, and when to spend your gold. So, yeah, middle ground kind of.
Right.
Good. So, Corey, you're usually the one that teaches us how to play the games. What would you say the ease of teaching Queendomino to somebody else would be?
I'm definitely not the best teacher in the world, and this game is extremely easy to teach. High teachability. You can teach it to your non-gamer wife, non-gamer husband. Gamers will pick up on it right away. But honestly, like Kaylor said too, you could teach a younger kid how to play within 5-10 minutes at the most, and for the most part, after one playthrough, you're going to know how the game works.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
What do we think about the overall ratings on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's just go down the line, starting with Kaylor.
I gave it an 8. I really like this game. It's fun, easy, quick game to pick up and take away.
I'm right there with you. I'm at an 8 out of 10. Definitely a solid game for what it is. I'm usually into more strategic, Euro heavier games typically, but for how light and simple this game is, I mean, an 8 out of 10 is a really good rating for me. I definitely love the game.
Yeah, John?
Yep, I'm right there with you. 8, 9, somewhere, towards the top end. Easy to play, quick, 25, 30 minutes. Yeah, just a fun, simple game.
And one of the lenses I look through with this is if you're building a library of games. This one's typically on the less expensive end, I'd say $20, $25 if you shop around a little bit. And it's a good gateway game where it's not as heavy as some of the Euro style games that we like playing, where there's a lot of resource management. It can be broken down for people who aren't really intense with games. Like we said, it's a low or medium thematic intensity. The weight, so the difficulty of, or the depth of the game isn't very high. I think that this makes it a great game to start your library with. Speaking of which, the excitement rating, do you think this is a buy? Try it? John, what do you think?
Yeah, like you're saying, it's a pretty cheap game, and if you're trying to start a new game collection, you know, 20, 25 bucks, that's not much, and I'd say you get your money's worth out of this game, definitely.
So it's a buy?
Yes, buy.
Corey?
It's a buy for me too. It's an easy buy. I mean, the MSRP is not too high. You can get it online for a decent price. Great one to add to your collection. The only other thing I'd add to this though too is that there is a game out there called Kingdomino, which is kind of its little brother. So if you're thinking that one or two of these pieces to the mechanisms in this game are a little bit too complex or something that you're not really too familiar with in gaming in general, I would definitely give Kingdomino a try as well. It's a little bit simpler version of the same game essentially, but this one is an easy add to the collection. If you play it a few times and don't like it, I'm sure there's a hot market on the aftermarket for somebody picking up the game.
And a bonus going beyond that, Kingdomino and Queendomino pair together, so you could be bringing those sets together and play a much larger game.
Yeah, which some 7x7 kingdoms going on there.
And then that adds a lot more strategy involved.
Yep, probably a little harder to build your kingdoms and whatnot, but I think, more depth to the game.
Definitely.
And finally, Kaylor, do you think you'd buy this game?
I definitely would buy this game. I did check try before you buy, but I definitely do think it's definitely between the buy or try before you buy. It definitely was a really fun game, easy to pick up. And like me with younger kids where these guys don't have them, I definitely think that it's something that they would like to play also.
Yeah, so that is our review of Queendomino. You can check the link that we have below on our playthrough, get a little bit more insight to some of our strategies. Overall, we really like this game and we play it a whole bunch. It's one of our staples. When we get together, we try to play it every time without the other time. For the guys, I hope that we really enlightened you on this game and that you'll at least try it out. So until next time, we're talking cardboard. No, so we're good.
It felt a lot better.
You can breathe a little bit. Yeah. That was the dumbest thing you could have possibly done. Damn. I know.
Come back. Click like. See you next time.
It's almost like you should get a window and roll it up.
At least I paused before I did.